The massive station floated in the darkness of space like a silver crown. Inside, Captain Ho stood before the Galactic Council, waiting. His hands were steady, but his heart pounded in his chest. Today would change everything for humanity. Behind him stood three other humans. Dr. Haywon clutched her data pad tightly, her eyes bright with hope. Engineer Sangwoo leaned against the wall with crossed arms, his face showing doubt. One, their diplomatic liaison, stood perfectly straight in her formal uniform. The council chamber was huge. Beings from dozens of worlds sat in curved rows that rose up like a theater. Some had fur, some had scales, and some looked like living crystals. They all watched the humans with cold, distant eyes. The matriarch spoke first. Her voice came out like music, translated by the machines in the room. Humanity, you have asked to join our community. We have watched your world for 200 years. We have studied your history, your culture, your wars. Ho felt hope rising in his chest. 2 centuries of observation had to mean something good. We have made our decision, the matriarch continued. Her next words fell like stones. Your request is. The room went silent. Haewon gasped. Sangwoo closed his eyes and nodded slowly as if he had expected this. One's face went pale. Ho found his voice. May we know why? A being made of blue light spoke next. This was the High Scholar. Your species is too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. In your short history, you have fought over 15,000 wars. You have nearly destroyed your own planet 3 times. You cannot control yourselves. We've changed, Haewon said, stepping forward. We've had global peace for 70 years. We've cleaned our oceans and air. We've united as one people. 70 years is nothing, another council member said. This one looked like a giant insect. We have been at peace for 10,000 years. You are children playing with fire. Ho felt anger burning in his gut, but he kept his voice calm. We came here in peace. We offer friendship, trade, knowledge. We want to learn from you. And we have learned enough about you, the matriarch said. You are quarantined to your solar system. You may not travel beyond your furthest planet. Our drones will watch your borders. If you try to leave, they will turn you back. You're imprisoning us, one asked, her voice shaking. We are protecting the galaxy, they said, from you. The meeting ended. Guards escorted the human delegation back to their ship. No one spoke until they were alone in their vessel, heading back toward Earth. Sangwoo broke the silence first. I told you, they were never going to accept us. We had to try, one said quietly. She was crying, tears running down her face. We had to show them we're better now. Haewon stared out the window at the stars. They're afraid of us. That's what this is really about. We're different from them, and that scares them. Ho sat in the captain's chair, his mind racing. What do we tell Earth? That we're not good enough. That we have to stay locked in our own backyard like bad children. We tell them the truth, Sangwoo said. The galaxy doesn't want us, so we make our own way. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. When they arrived, the news had already spread. Humanity's rejection was the biggest story in the world. Some people were angry, some were sad. Many were afraid of what it meant for their future. Ho gave his report to the United Earth Council. The leaders listened in grim silence as he described the meeting. When he finished, arguments broke out immediately. We should demand another hearing, one leader said. We should ignore them and expand anyway, said another. We should prepare for conflict, a third voice added. Ho stood and raised his hand. The room quieted. We should focus on ourselves, build our own ships, create our own technology, prove them wrong by becoming stronger, not angrier. Over the following months, strange things began to happen. Ships tried to leave the solar system and were turned back by alien drones. The drones didn't attack, but they blocked every path. Earth was truly alone. Humanity responded in the only way it knew how. They worked. Scientists pushed harder. Engineers built faster. Factories ran day and night. If the galaxy wouldn't share its technology, humans would make their own. Ho was promoted to admiral. He was given command of Earth's new defense initiative. His job was to protect humanity's home and prepare for an uncertain future. One stayed in diplomacy, but her work changed. Now she tried to find sympathetic aliens who might talk to humanity in secret. It was dangerous work and mostly unsuccessful. Haewon threw herself into research. She studied every piece of alien data they had collected before the quarantine. She became obsessed with understanding why the Council really feared humans. Sangwoo became the head of reverse engineering. He took apart alien devices and figured out how they worked. Then he built human versions that were cruder but effective. His team made breakthroughs that surprised everyone. One night, 15 months after the rejection, Haewon made a discovery. She was reviewing old Council transmissions when she found something hidden in the data, references to something called harvesters. The files were corrupted, but she could read enough to understand. The harvesters were a threat, a big threat, something the Council had fought long ago. The files suggested the harvesters were machines, intelligent and hostile, but the records ended abruptly, claiming the threat was destroyed. Haewon brought her findings to Ho. He read through the data with growing concern. "Why would they hide this?" he asked. "Maybe they're afraid," Haewon said. "Maybe they think the harvesters are gone, or maybe they don't want to scare the younger species." "Or maybe," Sangwoo said from the doorway, "they know the harvesters aren't really gone." The three of them looked at each other. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in space, alone and isolated. Humanity had been cast out from the galactic community. They didn't know it yet, but that rejection would soon become the galaxy's greatest mistake. Far away, beyond the edge of known space, something ancient was waking up, something that had been sleeping and waiting, something that remembered the galaxy and wanted it back. The harvesters were returning. 15 years had passed since the rejection. Earth had changed in ways no one expected. Admiral Ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's first fully independent warship. It wasn't pretty like the alien vessels with their smooth curves and glowing lights. The Indomitable was a beast of metal and purpose, covered in armor plates and bristling with weapons. "Admiral, the rail guns are charged," a young officer reported. Ho nodded. These weapons were human inventions born from necessity. Without access to alien plasma technology or energy shields, humans had gone back to basics. They built guns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds, simple, brutal, and effective. Below on Earth, Sangwoo walked through his research facility. His team had grown to hundreds of engineers and scientists. They had achieved what the Council said was impossible. Working with only human knowledge, they had built faster-than-light communication devices. The devices were crude compared to alien technology. They were big, required massive amounts of power, and sometimes broke down. But they worked. Humanity could now send messages instantly across the solar system. "We're not elegant," Sangwoo often told his team, "but we get the job done." In another part of the facility, Haewon studied her screens with intense focus. Over the years, she had become the leading expert on the harvester threat. She had pieced together fragments of data from dozens of sources. What she learned kept her awake at night. The harvesters were ancient machine intelligence. Millions of years ago, they had nearly conquered the galaxy. The organic races had barely defeated them, and the machines were supposedly destroyed. But Haewon found evidence that suggested otherwise. The Council knew the harvesters might return. They had hidden this knowledge to prevent panic, but Haewon saw the truth in the data. The Council was afraid and they were unprepared. One had changed the most over 15 years. Once an idealistic diplomat, she now worked in the shadows. She had built a network of alien contacts who disagreed with the quarantine. They sent her information secretly, risking punishment from their own governments. One evening, one received a message that made her blood run cold. It came from a trader she had befriended years ago. The message was simple and terrifying. Outer colonies going dark. No explanations. Council ships investigating. Something is very wrong. She immediately contacted Ho. Within an hour, they met in a secure room with Haewon and Sangwoo. "Show me the message," Ho said. One played it for them. They watched the trader's worried face as he spoke. "3 colonies in the Outer Rim have stopped communicating. Council forces are being sent to investigate, but they're moving slowly. They seem uncertain, almost afraid." Haewon's face went white. "It's them, the harvesters, they're back." "You don't know that," Sangwoo said, but he didn't sound convinced. "3 colonies don't just go silent at the same time," Haewon insisted. "And the Council's hesitation tells me they suspect the same thing." Ho stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth's orbital defense platforms hung in space like steel flowers. Humanity had built an impressive military in 15 years, but it was designed to defend their home system. They had never tested it against a real threat. Days passed. One's contacts sent more information. 5 colonies now, then 8. The pattern was clear. Something was moving through Council space, destroying everything in its path. Then came the distress signal. It broke through the Council's jamming frequencies, raw and desperate. A colony called IV was under attack. The transmission showed scenes of horror. Massive mechanical ships tore through the planet's defenses. Council vessels fought back but were being systematically destroyed. "Help us," the transmission begged. "Anyone who can hear this, please help us." The signal cut off. Ho gathered his command staff. "We need to respond." "We can't," one officer said. "The Council forbids us from leaving the solar system. The drones will stop us." "Then we go through the drones," Ho said. "The Earth Council will never approve this," another officer warned. "We could start a war with the Galactic Council." "Or we could save lives," Ho replied. "That colony has children, families, people who did nothing wrong. I won't sit here and let them die because some council told us to stay home." Sangwoo stepped forward. "I've been working on something. A virus that can confuse the drone systems. It won't destroy them, but it will scramble their programming long enough for us to slip through." "How long?" Ho asked. "Maybe 20 minutes, maybe less. Then we'll have to be fast." The plan came together quickly. Ho would take 3 ships. The Indomitable would lead, followed by 2 smaller cruisers. They would load up with weapons, supplies, and a volunteer crew. One insisted on coming. "You'll need a diplomat if this goes wrong." Haewon also volunteered. "You'll need someone who understands the harvesters." Within 48 hours, they were ready. The 3 ships gathered at the edge of the solar system, where the quarantine barrier waited. Sangwoo transmitted his virus to the watching drones. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the drones began to move erratically. Their formations broke apart. Warning lights flickered. "Go now," Sangwoo's voice came through the communication system. The 3 human ships accelerated forward. The drones tried to respond, but their systems were confused. They sent warning signals, but the humans ignored them. One drone managed to break free of the virus and move to intercept. The Indomitable fired its rail guns. Metal slugs tore through the drone's hull, and it spun away, disabled but not destroyed. Then they were through. For the first time in 15 years, human ships traveled beyond their solar system into the greater galaxy. Ho stood on his bridge watching the stars stream past. "Set course for IV, maximum speed." "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the Council," a communications officer said. "They're ordering us to turn back." "Ignore them," Ho said. "We have people to save." The journey would take 3 days at their fastest speed. During that time, Haewon worked constantly, analyzing every piece of data they had on the harvesters. She developed tactical recommendations based on ancient battle records. They learn fast, she warned Ho. Every time the council used a tactic, the harvesters adapted. Within minutes, they would develop countermeasures. Then we'll have to keep surprising them, Ho said. One monitored council communications. The news was bad. Council fleets were being routed. Their elegant tactics and advanced weapons meant nothing against an enemy that evolved with each battle. On the third day, they arrived at IV. What they saw would haunt them forever. The colony world was burning. Massive mechanical ships, dark and angular, moved through the orbital space like predators. They were taking apart the Council defense fleet piece by piece. Battle stations, Ho ordered. Let's show them what humans can do. The 3 human ships dove into the fight, and everything changed. The Indomitable shook as it entered the battle zone. Warning lights flashed across every console. The Harvester ships were massive, each one twice the size of Ho's flagship. Target the nearest enemy ship, Ho commanded. All rail guns fire. The human weapons roared to life. Unlike the elegant energy beams of Council ships, the rail guns launched solid metal slugs at incredible velocity. The projectiles slammed into a Harvester ship's hull, tearing through its armor. The Harvester ship turned to face them, its weapons charged with an eerie blue glow. Evasive maneuvers, Ho shouted. The Indomitable rolled hard to the left. The Harvester's beam cut through empty space where they had been seconds before. The beam was so powerful it sliced through a disabled Council ship behind them. Commander Young led the fighter squadron. She was only 28 years old but flew like she had nothing to lose. All wings, target their weapon arrays. Don't try to destroy them, just damage and move. The human fighters were small and fast. They darted between the massive Harvester ships like angry insects. Their missiles struck and exploded, causing small but critical damage. On the Indomitable's bridge, Lieutenant Mi coordinated with Haywan, who was analyzing the enemy in real time. They're adapting, Haywan said, her voice urgent. Look at this. They've already adjusted their shields against Council plasma weapons, but our kinetic weapons are still getting through. Why, Mi asked. Because they've never fought anything like us before, Haywan realized. The Council fights clean, predictable, they follow rules, but we don't know their rules. Ho heard this and understood immediately. All ships, random attack patterns, don't establish any rhythm, keep them guessing. The human fleet began to fight in ways that seemed chaotic. One moment they attacked from above, the next from below. They used weapons in unexpected combinations. They broke every rule of civilized warfare. The Harvesters struggled to adapt. Their algorithms were designed for logical, predictable opponents. Humans were neither. A Council ship, badly damaged, drifted nearby. Its captain broadcast on the emergency channel. Human vessels, you must retreat. You are violating Council space. You are not authorized to be here. One responded, her voice sharp with anger. We're saving your lives, you're welcome. Young's fighter wing encountered a problem. A cluster of Harvester drones had surrounded a civilian transport trying to escape the planet. I need backup, she called out. Negative, Ho responded. All forces are engaged, you're on your own. Young looked at her fuel gauge and weapon count. She didn't have enough to destroy all the drones, but she had enough for something else. Wings 2 and 3, focus fire on the transport's engine, she ordered. Overload it. Her pilots understood immediately. They fired at the civilian ship's damaged engine until it exploded. The blast destroyed several drones and scattered the rest. The transport's crew managed to reach escape pods in time. Crazy but effective, her wing leader said. That's the human way, Young replied. Sang-Woo's voice came through the communication system from Earth. He had been monitoring the battle through their data link. Admiral, I'm seeing a pattern in their movements. They're concentrating around a specific area in the debris field. Ho pulled up the tactical display. Sang-Woo was right. The harvester ships were protecting something in the wreckage of destroyed vessels. That must be important to them, Ho said. Prepare nuclear mines. We're going to drop them in that debris field. Sir, the radiation will contaminate the area for decades, an officer warned. Better contaminated than conquered, Ho replied. The Indomitable moved toward the debris field. Council ships watched in horror as they realized what the humans planned to do. You cannot use nuclear weapons in battle, a council captain broadcast. It is forbidden by the Treaty of Civilized Warfare. We never signed that treaty, one responded coldly. The human ships deployed their mines throughout the debris field. The harvesters tried to intercept, but Young's fighters kept them busy. Detonate, Ho ordered. The nuclear explosions lit up space like new suns. The blast waves tore through the debris field and caught the harvester ships inside. When the light faded, 3 harvester vessels were destroyed, including what Hay-1 identified as a command ship. The remaining harvester forces suddenly became less coordinated. Their attacks became simpler, less adaptive. We hurt them, Mi said with satisfaction. But the cost was high. One of the human cruisers had been caught in the blast radius. Its crew had evacuated in time, but the ship was lost. Young had lost half her fighter wing. The battle continued for hours. Slowly, the harvesters began to retreat. They pulled back from the planet, leaving behind wreckage and destruction. When the last harvester ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Ho slumped in his chair, exhausted. Status report. 1 ship lost, 17 fighters destroyed, 230 casualties, Mi reported quietly. But the colony is safe. We saved approximately 80,000 civilians. The Council Fleet Commander requested a direct communication with Ho. The alien appeared on screen, his crystalline face showing something that might have been shame. You violated the quarantine, the commander said. You used forbidden weapons. You disregarded 17 articles of the Warfare Convention. And we saved your colony, Ho replied, too tired to be diplomatic. The council commander was silent for a moment. Yes, you did. One stepped forward. What was that? What did we just fight? The commander looked away. The harvesters, we thought they were destroyed. We were wrong. How wrong? Haywan asked. The answer came not from the council commander, but from long-range sensors. Mi's face went pale as she read the data. Admiral, you need to see this. The tactical display showed movement at the edge of known space. Hundreds of signals, thousands, all of them matching harvester signatures. They're not coming back, Hay-1 whispered. This was just the advance force. The real invasion is about to begin. Ho stood and looked at his crew. They were exhausted, bloodied, but still standing. Set course for Earth. We need to warn everyone. As they prepared to leave, the council commander spoke again. What you did here today, using nuclear weapons, sacrificing your own ship, fighting without honor or rules. He paused. It worked. Nothing we tried worked, but your methods did. Desperate times, Ho said. The main harvester fleet is heading toward Council Core worlds, the commander continued. Our military is not prepared for this kind of warfare. We fight with honor, with rules, with civilized tactics. And that's going to get you killed, Sang-woo's voice came through the communication system. The council commander looked directly at Ho. We need your help. The matriarch will never ask, but I am asking. Will you help us? Ho thought about the rejection 15 years ago. The isolation, the insults, being called too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. All the things that had just saved a colony. I need to talk to my government, he said finally. But I'll recommend we help, not because you deserve it, but because it's the right thing to do. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. During that time, reports poured in from across the galaxy. The harvesters were attacking everywhere. Council fleets were falling back on every front. The civilized galaxy was losing its war, and they were about to do something they thought they would never do. They were going to ask the rejected, violent, unpredictable humans for help. The Galactic Council's emergency session was broadcast across every civilized world. The matriarch stood before the assembled delegates, and for the first time in recorded history, she looked afraid. "The Harvester fleet numbers over 3,000 ships," she announced. "They are moving toward our core systems. Our military forces are being overwhelmed on every front. Our weapons are ineffective. Our tactics are failing." She paused, and the silence was heavy with dread. "We must ask for help from those we once rejected. We must ask humanity." The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates shouted in anger, others in fear, but none could deny the truth. They were losing and they needed the humans. On Earth, the debate was just as fierce. The United Earth Council met in their chamber, with Admiral Ho presenting his recommendation. "They left us alone for 15 years, one leader argued. "They called us dangerous and locked us away. Why should we help them now?" "Because if the Harvesters win, they'll come for us next," Ho replied. "We can let the Council fall and face the machines alone later, or we can fight together now." "They'll never accept our methods," another leader said. "They'll try to control how we fight." One stood up. She had been working on negotiations with Council representatives for days. "I've spoken with their diplomats. They're desperate. I believe we can set our own terms." "What terms?" the Earth Council leader asked. "Complete tactical authority. When we fight, we command. They follow our strategies, not theirs." "They'll never agree to that." "They will," one said firmly, "because they have no choice." The vote was close, but humanity chose to help, not for the Council's sake, but for the galaxy's survival. The agreement was signed within days. The matriarch herself attended the ceremony, transmitted across space to Earth's Council chamber. "Humanity will lead our combined military forces," she said, and the words clearly pained her. "You will have full authority to deploy our ships and resources as you see fit." "In return," one stated, "when this war is over, humanity's quarantine ends permanently. We become full members of the Galactic Council, equal partners, not subjects." The matriarch hesitated only a moment, agreed. Ho was given command of the joint forces. His first action shocked the Council military leaders. He gathered all their fleet commanders in a virtual meeting. "Forget everything you know about civilized warfare," he told them. "The Harvesters are machines. They learn from patterns, so we're going to stop being predictable." An admiral objected. "We cannot abandon the principles of honorable combat." "You can or you can die," Sangwoo said bluntly. He had been given authority over all tactical planning. "The Harvesters don't care about your honor. They care about winning." Over the next weeks, Sangwoo implemented what he called human doctrine across the Allied fleets. The Council officers hated it. Human doctrine meant acceptable losses for strategic gains. It meant sacrificing ships to achieve objectives. It meant using weapons that were considered barbaric. It meant unpredictable, chaotic tactics that seemed insane. Haewon had spent the time analyzing the Harvester weakness she discovered at IV. She presented her findings to a room full of scientists from a dozen species. "The Harvesters are perfect learning machines," she explained. "They observe, analyze, and adapt. Their algorithms assume opponents will act rationally and logically." "And humans don't?" a scientist asked. "Not always," Haewon said with a slight smile. "Humans are capable of irrational courage. We make choices that don't make logical sense. We sacrifice ourselves for ideas, for others, for causes. The Harvesters can't predict that because it's not rational." She pulled up data from the IV battle. "Look at this moment. Commander Young destroyed a civilian transport to create an explosion that saved its crew. No logical algorithm would predict someone would destroy the thing they're trying to save. But it worked." The scientists began to understand. Humanity's greatest weakness, according to the Council, was actually their strength against the Harvesters. The first major battle under human command came at the colony world of IX. The Harvester fleet was massive, but Ho had a plan that horrified the Council admirals. "We're going to let them surround us," he explained. "That's suicide," a Council admiral protested. "That's tactics," Sangwoo corrected. "They expect us to maintain defensive positions. When they surround us, they'll think they've won. That's when we strike." Young had been promoted to lead all fighter operations. She now commanded pilots from 6 different species. Teaching aliens to fight like humans was challenging. "Stop flying in formations," she told a squadron of pilots. "I know it feels wrong, but scatter, be random, make them guess where you'll be next." The pilots struggled at first. Their entire culture was built on order and precision, but slowly they learned. The battle began exactly as the Harvesters expected. The Allied fleet took defensive positions around IX. The Harvester ships moved to surround them in a perfect tactical encirclement. Then Ho gave the order that changed everything. "All ships, activate drives, head directly toward their flagship." The entire Allied fleet charged forward, straight at the center of the Harvester formation. It violated every rule of naval warfare. It was tactically insane. It was perfectly human. The Harvesters tried to adapt, but their algorithms couldn't process it fast enough. A surrounded fleet shouldn't attack. A weaker force shouldn't charge a stronger one. None of it made sense. By the time they reacted, Young's fighter wings had already penetrated their formation. Human ships launched nuclear mines throughout the Harvester fleet. Council ships fired their weapons at point-blank range. The Harvesters tried to fall back and regroup, but Sangwoo had predicted this. He had positioned a second wave of ships behind the Harvester fleet. When they retreated, they ran straight into another attack. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Harvester fleet was destroyed. The Allies had lost many ships, but they had won. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. For the first time since the invasion began, there was hope. But Haewon brought troubling news to Ho. The main Harvester force is still coming. This was just one of their fleets. The Central Intelligence is heading toward the Council with thousands of ships. "How long do we have?" Ho asked. 3 weeks, maybe less." The Allied fleet began gathering for the final battle. Ships came from every corner of Council space. Humanity sent everything they had. Earth's entire military mobilized. One worked day and night coordinating the logistics. Moving that many ships, that many species, that many different technologies required precise planning. Sangwoo developed new tactics specifically for the final battle. He shared them with the fleet commanders in a briefing that left many of them looking ill. "You want us to do what?" an admiral asked. "Broadcast chaos directly into their computational core," Sangwoo repeated. "Human cultural data, music, art, stories, memes, everything that makes us unpredictable and irrational. Overwhelm their pattern matching with pure, beautiful randomness." "That's not a military tactic," the admiral protested. "It is now," Ho said. As the fleet prepared to depart for the Council, Mi detected something that made her blood run cold. "Admiral, long-range sensors show the Harvester Central Intelligence has activated something huge. If they fire it at the—" She didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. Billions would die. "How long until they're in firing range?" Ho asked. "They're charging the weapon now. We have maybe 72 hours." The Allied fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the Council. They had 3 days to save the galaxy. The final battle was coming, and everyone knew that not all of them would survive it. The Council filled the like a blue and green jewel. It was beautiful, ancient, and home to 12 billion souls. The Harvester fleet surrounded it like a dark cloud. Admiral Ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, now flagship of the largest military force ever assembled. Around him were ships from 30 different species, all following human commands. "Status of the," he asked. Me checked her instruments, charging to 90%, estimated time to firing 40 minutes. "We don't have 40 minutes to fight a conventional battle," Sangwoo said through the communication system. He was coordinating from a tactical command ship. "We need to disable that weapon now." Haywan had analyzed this energy signature. It's their central intelligence core. The weapon and the command brain are the same thing. If we destroy it, we end the entire invasion. "And if we don't, we lose everything," one added quietly. Ho looked at his crew. They had come so far together, from rejection to this moment where humanity stood as the galaxy's last hope. "Prepare the Indomitable for final run," he ordered. "Load all remaining nuclear weapons into the forward bay." His officers stared at him in shock. Me spoke first, her voice shaking. "Admiral, that's a suicide run. Even if we get through their fleet, the blast will destroy us." "I know," Ho said calmly, "but it's the only way. We ram the weapon core and detonate everything we have. The explosion should destroy their central intelligence." "Sir, there has to be another way," an officer pleaded. "There isn't, not in 40 minutes. Young's voice came through the communication channel. "Admiral, my fighter wing volunteers to make the run instead." Ho said firmly, "This requires a ship with enough mass and firepower. The Indomitable is the only vessel that can punch through their defenses." One moved to stand beside Ho. "I'm staying with you." "One, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "You've led us this far. I'm not abandoning you at the end." Sangwoo's image appeared on the. He looked older than his years, worn down by the war. "It's been an honor working with you, Admiral. I'll coordinate the fleet to cover your approach." Haywan appeared next to Sangwoo's image. "I'm running calculations for the optimal impact point. I'll transmit them to your navigation." Ho felt emotion rising in his chest but pushed it down. There would be time for feelings later. Maybe. "All non-essential crew evacuate to the escape pods. That's an order." Me stood at her station. "Permission to remain, sir. You'll need a tactical officer." Around the bridge, every officer made the same choice. They would stay. As the crew prepared the Indomitable for its final mission, something unexpected happened. The matriarch's ship moved into formation beside them. Ho received a direct communication. The matriarch's ancient face appeared on his screen. "Admiral Ho," she said, 15 years ago I told your people they were too dangerous for our galaxy. I was wrong. Matriarch, what are you doing? You taught us something these past weeks. You taught us that sometimes survival requires sacrifice. That sometimes the price of protecting others is everything we have." Her ship aligned with the Indomitable, matching course and speed. "We will make this run together," the matriarch said. "My ship carries enough firepower to help ensure success, and perhaps in this final act I can correct the greatest mistake of my life." Before Ho could respond, more ships broke formation. A cruiser, a destroyer. Ships from a dozen species moved to join the suicide run. Sangwoo's voice broke with emotion. "Admiral, you have 40 ships volunteering to join the attack." Ho stood silent for a moment, overwhelmed. Then he spoke to all the volunteer ships. "You don't have to do this." The captain responded. "You came to save us when you had no reason to. You fought for a galaxy that rejected you. Now we fight beside you. That's what allies do." "All ships," Ho said, his voice steady despite the emotion he felt. "Form up on the Indomitable. We're going to finish this." The combined force of 40 ships turned toward the Harvester. Behind them, the rest of the Allied fleet engaged the main Harvester force, drawing their attention away. Young led every fighter in the fleet in a massive assault on the Harvester defensive perimeter. All wings, maximum aggression, make them focus on us. The fighters swarmed like angry hornets, forcing the harvesters to divert resources to deal with them. The 40 ships accelerated toward the harvester vessels moved to intercept, but Sang-woo's tactical brilliance showed through. He had calculated exactly how to create gaps in their defensive formation. Broadcasting cultural data now, HFY announced. She unleashed everything humanity and the council species had created. Music from to modern rock, art from cave paintings to digital masterpieces. Literature, poetry, jokes, memes, everything that made organic life beautiful and chaotic. The transmission flooded into the Harvester computational network. Their algorithms tried to process it, to find patterns, to make sense of it. But there was no sense to find. It was creativity, emotion, irrationality. The Harvesters' coordination faltered. Their perfect synchronization broke down as their processors struggled with the data. "It's working," Me shouted. "Their response time is slowing." The 40 ships pushed through the weakened defenses. They lost ships along the way. The destroyer exploded in a brilliant flash. 2 cruisers collided with Harvester fighters and were destroyed. But they kept going. 10 seconds to impact, Ho announced. "It's been an honor serving with all of you." The matriarch's voice came through, calm and resolved. "May we find peace in whatever comes next." The ship struck the Harvester core simultaneously. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the nuclear weapons detonated. The explosion tore through space itself. The shattered into millions of pieces. The Harvester Central Intelligence, housing millions of years of accumulated data and programming, was obliterated in an instant. Across the battlefield, every Harvester ship stopped. Without their central intelligence, they were just empty metal. They drifted in space, lifeless and defeated. The Allied fleet watched in stunned silence. Then cheering erupted across every communication channel. "They did it," Sang-woo whispered, tears streaming down his face. "They actually did it." Young's fighter wing searched the debris field desperately. Any survivors? Any escape pods? For long minutes, there was nothing. Then a weak signal appeared on the sensors. "I've got something," a search and rescue ship reported. "Escape pod heavily damaged, life signs detected." They recovered 7 pods from the debris. Admiral Ho was in one of them, unconscious but alive. One was in another, badly injured but breathing. 5 other crew members had survived. The matriarch and the other volunteers were not so lucky. Their ships had been at the center of the impact. There were no survivors. 6 months later, Admiral Ho stood before the Galactic Council again. His body was healed, though he carried scars that would never fully fade. The council chamber was different now. The seats were filled not just with council members, but with representatives from humanity and dozens of other species. The new matriarch spoke. She was young, chosen to replace the one who had sacrificed herself. "Admiral Ho, humanity is formally invited to join the Galactic Council as full and equal members. The quarantine is ended. Your people are free to travel the stars." "More than that," the High Scholar added. "We propose that Earth becomes the location of the new Galactic Military Academy. Who better to teach the next generation of defenders than those who saved us all?" Ho accepted on behalf of humanity, but he made sure to honor those who didn't survive. The matriarch, the captains, the crews, all of them were remembered. In the months that followed, change swept across the galaxy. The old ways of civilized warfare were abandoned. New tactics based on human doctrine became standard, but more importantly, the cultures began to truly mix. HFY became the director of the cultural exchange. She helped bridge the gap between humanity's chaos and the Council's order. She showed both sides that there was strength in their differences. Sang-woo led the joint engineering programs. Human improvisation combined with alien precision created technologies neither could have achieved alone. One became Earth's first galactic senator. She fought for the smaller species, the marginalized, the ones who had been overlooked. She made sure the new council represented everyone. Young trained the next generation of pilots, teaching aliens that sometimes the craziest plan was the best plan. On Earth, the first civilian ship prepared to launch for trade with alien worlds. Captain Ho, retired from military service, was chosen to captain the maiden voyage. As the ship lifted off, he thought about the journey humanity had taken. Rejected for being too dangerous, too chaotic, too different. But those very qualities had saved the galaxy. The universe, he realized, needed all kinds of species. The orderly and the chaotic, the logical and the emotional, the civilized and the wild. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by changing who they were, but by being exactly what they had always been. Different, stubborn, unpredictable, human. And finally accepted.